Springboard Roadshow Foundation. Legacy and legacy. Be inspired. Be motivated. Be challenged.
And the spirit of life.
Any good, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness I can show to a fellow creature, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Do you understand the unique sense of responsibility that comes from being fearfully and wonderfully made? That comes from being awesome in the eyes of God. Yes, each one of us is unique and passes through this life but once. As a global citizen, you must use this unique opportunity to make impact, to make a difference by doing any good or any kindness to a fellow creature now. It cannot wait, nor can it be deferred, because you shall not pass this way again. How then does one become and remain duly conscious of being a global citizen? I think it is a consciousness that, to adopt a medical terminology, a consciousness that should become part of our intellectual, our cultural, and our spiritual DNA. And it must become so through education, through socialization, from childhood. In fact, even from conception through life until its God-given end. It must become part of our DNA. Intellectual DNA, cultural DNA, spiritual DNA. This is because, yes, when we talk about conception, I go back to the fact of what the inspirational speaker said. Because once the winner has won the race from among 3 million sperms, he or she is a winner and has a unique mission to fulfill here on earth. A mission that no other person can accomplish or substitute in the same way. That is another reason why we Christians are against abortion. Because once you are conceived and an abortion interferes, abortion deprives humanity of some of its unique citizens. Take it from me. I am not saying it from a moralistic point of view to calm your conscience. I am saying it from a logical point of view. Let us go back then to Psalm 139, which says, "O Lord God, you created me, you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made." But for those of you who are Christians, and I like to believe the majority of you are, do you remember that John the Baptist leapt in his mother's womb at the coming of Jesus Christ, also in his mother's womb? Luke chapter 1 verse 45. Have you thought of it? That two unborn babies could interact, could relate, and could rejoice at the coming of the Savior. So abortion is depriving humanity of some of its unique citizens that have a unique mission to fulfill. You know, in the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5, this is what God says. "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations." Powerful. This should help the Christian in particular appreciate his or her uniqueness, and at the same time, the uniqueness of his or her fellow human being, and to bring the Christian to accept with a sense of awe and marvel God's unique mission for each and every one of his sons and daughters on this planet. So you see how by emphasizing your individuality, you are at the same time emphasizing your global responsibility as a global citizen. We are fearfully and wonderfully made as individuals, but at the same time, we are global beings with a global mission for humanity today and tomorrow. The book of Jeremiah says that we have been consecrated and appointed prophets to the nations. In very simple terms, we each have a God-given mission that we cannot shirk. And therefore, we are individually, we are severally, and we are communally co-responsible for the well-being of this earth and for the general welfare of all its global citizens. I want to bring home to you the fact that your individuality is an individual responsibility before all other people's individuality, and therefore you are already a global citizen and you have a global responsibility you cannot run away from. This is why it is imperative that all children are given the requisite upbringing, education, and formation to enable them become indeed the unique creature and citizen that God created them and endowed them to be, educated to become global citizens indeed. Permit me to share with you an experience I had once. I was standing on a balcony with a French man, friend of mine, and we were overlooking the compound, football field of a primary school. The bell went for recreation, and in poured into the compound hundreds of kids from about 6 years to about 16, 17 years. And as we looked, and the whole place was filled with noise, life bustling here and there, this was what my French friend said: Africa, you have problems. I was smiling, I was looking at the children, enjoying what they were doing because it reminded me of what I also did some time ago. And this was my reply: look, these are our assets. These are not problems. They are our wealth. These are our wealth. These are our assets. They are not problems. So my sons and my daughters, if anybody should make you feel you are a problem, tell the person you are wrong. I am a wealth. I am riches that God has created. And you are such a unique riches that nobody can take it away from you. So I went on to tell my French friend, what we need now is to invest in each and every one of these children through good education, and just imagine how richer Africa and the world will be. How richer Africa and the world will be. Let me therefore say that global citizens are not born simply. They are made so by how we educate them, by how we socialize them from infancy through life. And I like to use the example of my own upbringing. I come from a very small family of 12 children. I knew you were going to laugh. We are 7 boys and 5 girls. And I want to thank God for our parents who brought us up, who educated us and socialized us. I want to thank God for all the teachers who brought us up, educated us, and socialized us. I want to thank God for all our neighbors who helped in bringing us up, educating us, and socializing us. Because of the 12 brothers and sisters that we are, there is hardly any profession in life that we do not have. All of us occupy different, various professions, thanks to the education, the upbringing, and the socialization. One of the things or the norms I remember very well from my childhood was that my parents educated me and my siblings first and foremost to cherish our individuality and to appreciate the same of other people. So we were not just individuals and others were nothing. They were equally individuals, rich as we were. And our parents taught us not only to appreciate others, but to join all others to become global actors and not global consumers of global fashion and fad. Listen to me carefully, because many of us stand a chance of becoming victims of globalization and not global actors, not the shakers and the movers of the globe, but victims, passive, supine, who only consume what globalization is coming to us. What do I mean by that? It is the duty of parents, and I hope some of you here are parents and teachers. It is the duty of parents and teachers, and it is the duty of the state and government to educate, to form children who can stand their own ground and not just be swayed by any wind of fashion or fad, however useful or otherwise. Chris Brown comes to Ghana. He has tattoo all over his body like a billboard. He sings. He's very talented. He entertains. Thank God. He smokes pot on our stage. Do you know how many people are already imitating that crap, that rubbish? Global consumers of nonsense. I believe that it is the duty of parents to teach their children to learn to distinguish in life what is essential, what is needed, what is useful, what is desirable from what is frivolous. Parents should teach their children to make informed personal choices in this global world. This means that for the child to become a global actor and not just a global consumer or victim, he or she needs good ethical and moral upbringing, good character formation to give the child the needed moral spine in the face of today's global tsunami of consumerism. You need to have spine to stand firm in the face of globalization. Life in the global village. There is a saying today that we live in a global village. It means that everything is now so very near and instant. So very interconnected, like in our villages in those days, that we cannot but admit we are on a world stage everywhere we are, whether it is in Butumejebu in the western region or Salvelugu Nantongma in the northern region. Now, whether you are born or live in Tabiefedeme in the Volta region, or in Fukushima in Japan, or in Reykjavik in Greenland, or in Tierra del Fuego in Argentina, it takes only a few split seconds for news to travel to you thanks to technology and scientific advancement. Thank God. Through the net, it's wonderful. Whether you and I like it or not, these days you cannot tell a child a fib, because the child just goes to the iPad, tack, 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 Google, and he says, Mommy, Google does not say that. I had a friend who and his wife, they were talking about a place somewhere And I think the guy did not hear it well. They were talking about Pompeii, and he heard Bombay. So he said, oh, Bombay, it is in India. And the child said, Daddy, Bombay is, yes, in India, but that's not what we are talking about. And the daddy said, what do you mean by that? He said, we are talking about Pompeii in Italy. There it is. So my sons and my daughters, whether you and I like it or not, we live in a global world. There is something beautiful about technological advancement, and I would have you use it, but don't let technology use you. Use technology, but don't let technology use you. Be a master of technology and not a slave of technology. But let me come to something that is worrying me about you, the young people. And so most of you spend the night, instead of sleeping, on the phone talking sweet nonsense. You go to the universities because officially in the senior high schools it is forbidden to have cell phones. In Kumasi. You go to the universities, and in the night, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, instead of your daughter sleeping, she is hanging on the phone. God have mercy on her. You go to the universities, and your son, instead of him going to sleep so that he can wake up, solid in the morning, he is sitting there and he's talking about Manchester United as against Chelsea and the rest of it. And they spend the night and they don't sleep. Then they get the virus of mobile telephonitis. And what do I mean by that? It catches on them like a virus. Charlie, when they are going anywhere and they don't have their mobile phones, they feel completely one leg away. These days, the young people and their mobile phones and the rest, without them, they don't think, they don't breathe, they don't do anything. Painful. A friend of mine says he invited his daughter, a 21-year-old girl, 19-year-old girl, to come along with her friends to a hotel so that they could, socialize a bit. There were 4 of them. And when they got there and they ordered the food, he was making talk, and the kids were all glued to this little machine, and they were going to check that. Then he said, but what are you people doing? I brought you here to chat, to communicate with one another. And the girl said, oh, Daddy, you are Kolo. We are chatting with one another. They are sitting next to one another. They don't open their mouth to talk. They are chatting on it. Anyway, the days have changed. Do you know why they were chatting with one another on their text machine, SMS? Because they were saying things that they didn't want their daddy to hear. My sons and my daughters, be masters of these gadgets and these things. Don't let the gadgets be your masters. Another one that is worrying me about those of you who are parents. We build houses, we raise the walls 2 meters, 3 meters high. We put barbed wires around it so that armed robbers cannot come into the house. Am I right? And do you know where the armed robbers enter into your house and their family? They come through the TV cable. And they teach your children how to smoke pot. They teach your children sexual immorality. They teach your children sakawa. They teach your children, and so they rob you and your family without raising a gun. That is the reason why I say be a global citizen, but make sure you are a global actor, not a global victim. You must control the machines. The machines should not control you. So my sons and my daughters, on the other side of being a global citizen, today it takes nothing to know what happens anywhere. But not just what happens, the consequences of what happens on yourself. We were all privy to 2 years or so ago, the nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan. And we had reason to worry because radiation could also disturb even those of us who are here. Chernobyl happened in the late 1980s, am I right? Or 1990s. And today, the radiation is still going on. Even Hiroshima, which happened in 1945 or so, is still having effect on us. Just to say that one man's mistake can implicate all of us in a cosmic suicidal journey. Let me ask you, recently, have you heard of the fact that refrigerators which use CFCs have been banned? And they have been banned because I never believed that somebody having a CFC refrigerator in Lasial Tuolu, somewhere in northern region, could be causing damage to the ozone layer in Antarctica, over 7,000 kilometers away. It just tells you our co-responsibility for this earth that we are in, because we are global citizens. Oh, the last one was a very painful experience for me. I went to visit one of our presidents in the castle. We went as a church, elders. And we were standing overlooking the sea behind Osu Castle. It was sad. Black plastic bags floating through the sea in Accra everywhere. I felt very sad, because definitely these black plastic bags did not find themselves in the sea. Some people dumped them in the gutters. The water took them into the sea. And do you know the danger it poses to the fishes, to the whales, to the sea flora and fauna? And so I want you to know that you and I are global citizens, and we have global responsibility. We cannot shirk it. So, my dear friends, it is not my desire to put an indictment on. I was just talking to Pastor Ransford in his office. Listen very carefully. There are supposed to be over 350,000 illegal Chinese immigrants in this country, all involved with galamsey, competing with the big mining companies. They go to some chiefs for just a handful of dollars. The chief gives them the place to start digging for gold. And they are destroying our environment with our complicity. They are poisoning our water bodies with our complicity. And we are sitting there looking on unconcerned. Have you ever thought of this global responsibility? My dear friends, again, it is not my desire to put an indictment on modern global citizenry. Mine is to bring hope, the point that our destinies are so inseparably woven together that each one of us must feel globally responsible for our actions or our inactions. We cannot be left behind, of course, in the global village with all its scientific and technological miracles and life-changing experiences. We, however, have to educate our children, and we have to equip them with the necessary intellectual capacity and psycho-spiritual or cultural capabilities to live and to act as self-conscious, responsible, global citizens. This is why I would like to leave you again with this adage, my last adage. Think global, act local. Think global, act local. Let us teach our children and our youth, you my young people, to become indeed global actors and not just global consumers. Let us teach you, the young people, to know that the globe starts from me, and starts from us, and starts from here. Let us think about the globe, but let us act to protect what we have locally. May you, our young people, never forget your self-worth, your individuality, your uniqueness, your awesomeness, as well as your sharing in the common heritage of all of us and your participating in the common responsibility. May you be held to remember that God made each and every one of you fearfully and wonderfully. Indeed. A well-known African adage says, I am because we are. I am because we are. May you, our young ones of today and tomorrow, dream big as the ocean. May your parents and your teachers and your guardians bring you up to know your uniqueness and your individuality. But at the same time, may they help you and keep you open to the wealth that comes from embracing the individuality, the uniqueness of other people, so that you can be the richer for it. May we all never forget that this is the only world we have. And we are only stewards or custodians to whom it has been entrusted for as long as we are passing this way. I think we should never defer it. If we can do something good for others and for humanity, I expect to pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness I can show to any fellow creature, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Happy are those who dream dreams and are ready to pay the price to let them come true. I wish you all the best.
In the